We return to Malaysia for the Malaysian Grand Prix here at the Sepang International Circuit, the 13th Malaysian Grand Prix. It's the first Grand Prix since 2017 here in the OC. The 8th and 12th circuits do not feature on the revised 2020 F1 calendar. And interestingly, the Constructors' Championship for Mercedes could be decided today, but they need a lot of luck. And could they also make it a 4th win here in Malaysia to tie with Red Bull and Ferrari, who have also won here 4 times. But this, of course, is the track where they could win the Constructors' Championship today, but they are about probably nearly 200 points ahead, but there's still several rounds to go, so they don't need to worry about not winning it here. The lap record set by Florian Volker back in 2013, 56 laps, circuit length of 5.543 kilometers, 15 corners, and of course this circuit has not been the calendar due to problems with the circuit. Previous 5 winners here have included Nicholas Gall in 2013, Mackenzie winning 3 years in a row, 2014 to 16, and then Armand Cole winning the last Grand Prix back in 2017. So the tyres we'll be using for this race will be the medium tyres, and we'll of course now take a look at the practice results from practice. And it was interesting, it was Rivki Farquharson, the Mercedes test driver, who was actually fastest ahead of Franco Lopez. The rest of the order as follows. Other test driver was Maxi Titkov for Manor as well, who unfortunately was in last position. But that was practice, and this is now the starting grid for the Malaysian Grand Prix. And it was Nicholas Gall who takes pole position for Red Bull ahead of Franco Lopez, who has actually had a good qualifying. He struggled recently, but has improved this time round. Row 2 is Armand Carr and Roland Moitian for Mercedes and Racing Point. Row 3 of the grid we have Franco Gamma for Red Bull and Carrozza de Rosa for McLaren. On row 4 of the grid we then have 2 Brits of Chris Chatfield for AlphaTauri and George Roque for Racing Point. On row 5 of the grid we have Roberto Gamba for Ferrari and Joseph Willows for McLaren. So that is a good qualifying again from McLaren, both cars in the top 10. On row 6, 2 Renaults, very close. Jake Galloway and Evan Byrne separated by just 11 thousandths of a second. Row 7, we have Laura Chong Ferrari and a very qualifying from Emilio Wilson in 14th place. On row 8, we have Felix Sontag Williams, a decent qualifier from him, and Gabriel Gomez, 16th for Alfa Romeo. Row 9 of the grid, we have the 2 Haas drivers of Daniel Fraser and Dudu Kirby. Obviously, their times were way off because it was wet in Q1. On row 10 of the grid, we have Andrea Federi for Alfa Romeo and Rosetta Martinez for Manor. And on the last row of the grid, we have David Kupok for AlphaTauri, unfortunately got caught up in the weather, and Jamie Griffiths for Williams. And team news. One very surprising bit of team news is that Roberto Gamba will retire from the OC at the end of the season, and the least surprising team news is that Jimmy Griffiths will remain at Williams. So, big surprise, no one was expecting Roberto to retire, but this will be his last season in the OC. And quite sad, I guess. Weather for this race, it will be a wet race, very wet at that, 60% chance of rain. It will be monsoon conditions, of course being in Malaysia, for the first half an hour/hour of the race, so this should be very, very interesting indeed. The 5 lights are about to come on for a very wet and soggy Malaysian Grand Prix. The 5 lights are now on, and we're underway as we head towards the first corner. Who is going to get the jump? It looks like Gallo's made a pretty decent launch. It's a long run to the first corner, of course. Anything could happen. Meanwhile, there's a Mercedes trying to get on the inside. I think this is Lopez attempting to take the lead of the race as they head towards the first corner. Will Gal keep it? And no, I think Lopez has got the lead. And yes, he has, so he gets it into the first corner. Now, can Carr go around the outside and make it a Mercedes 1-2? And sorry, it was actually Carr. It looked like it was Lopez, but Carr has taken the lead. Can Lopez get second? And meanwhile, Daniel Fraser is out. Lopez is attempting to get past Gal for second. I think he has. And yes, he has done. He's up in a second, so it is a Mercedes 1-2. Then on the order now, Moitian trying to go around the outside of his fellow Hungarian Gal here for third place. And as we see Daniel Fraser out of the race, the car's heading through, they're all moving about. There's moves throughout the field as Chatfield making a late move down the inside of Roberto Gamba for 7th there. And meanwhile, Rosetta Martinez, I think, has got damage, so he's going to have to go into the pits. Maybe he was to do with what happened to Daniel Fraser on the first corner. And so, as we're looking on board with Martinez, who himself made an okay start, you can see how wet it is heading towards the first corner. And yep, he was the one that goes into the back of Daniel Fraser. And actually went right in front of his teammate Dudu Kirby there. Lucky that Kirby was not caught up in that. But for Daniel Fraser, his miserable season continues. Of course, there's doubts as to whether he will keep a seat in the OC next season. Meanwhile, Gabriel Gomez also got damage from that incident too, as the car's now heading through towards the first lap. So now meanwhile, Franco Gamble all over the back. Oh, and he makes contact with Moitian coming into the hairpin there, but he makes it through nonetheless. Now all the car trying to almost pushing each other through like a very long snake, almost doing the anaconda maybe. But the two Mercedes are now battling each other. This is for the lead. Lopez and Carl, we've seen what's happened before between these two. They've already cleared Gal massively in third place, as we're looking at them coming onto the back straight, heading towards turn 15, going past one of the main grandstands. And so as we're looking at the cars heading towards the first the first end of the first lap, and now Lopez trying to get past Carr here. He's on the outside, and now he's going to swap to the inside for the next for the final corner. And would you believe it? They have taken each other out again, and Carr is he's gone right into the path of everybody in the track, and I think that's Franco Gamba that's hit him there. Oh my word, and would you believe it? So Carr is out of the race. Lopez has gone into the pits, I assume. Gamba is in the pits as well. But the two Mercedes have come into contact with each other yet again, so Gal's got a free lead. De Rossi is attempting to pass Moichi for second place, but there's a yellow flag out, so you may go on. Oh, and Lopez is out. Oh, never mind. Well, Lopez is out, so both Mercedes have taken each other out of the race, so there is absolutely no chance of the Constructors' Championship. And oh, look at that. Gamba gets absolutely shafted from behind. Oh, and he gets hit from behind as well by the Alfa Romeo. But currently Lopez is blocking the pit entry at this moment in time. Into the pits there, so you can see Lopez getting pushed down. So yeah, he is done for. So unfortunately for Gomez and for Martins, they're both stuck. Gamba's now managing to get into his pit box, so he is in. And there we go. So he's managed to get in and change his tyres. But then when he comes out, I think he might come out. Where's Lopez? I think he'll probably come out behind him as well, changing all the tyres. The front wing. I'm waiting for the cars to sneak by. And yep, there we go. Lopez getting pushed by Martinez, who's still trying to make his way through, so Gamba's going to come up behind these guys as well. So yeah, bad news for these guys, all getting held up massively. But let's have a look at this incident once again. And so this was Lopez on the inside of Carr, and you could just see that was going to happen. And then Carr, unfortunately, his car wheel spinning back into the main path. So Lopez had actually got through into the pits, but he just slid wide. Understeered almost into the wall there in these tricky conditions. Meanwhile, Moichin does pass De Rosa back for second place, because De Rosa did pass Moichin under yellow flags in the first corner, so I imagine that would be a penalty. Meanwhile, Byrne and Roke there almost side by side into the first corner. Galloway trying to make his way past Willis. It's all happening, and we're only 2 laps in. Are we even going to have any finishes by the end of this race? I don't know, but it's all happening at this point. So as we look on board with Galloway, so Willows actually does manage to keep the position around the outside, and actually no further action on the turn 1 overtakes, because I think it was that must be still for Fraser's car that's still being pushed away, so nothing will happen, so no penalties there. And meanwhile, this is Laura Chung, and oh, she's been hit from behind by Joseph Willows, and Chung is out. Willows has got damage, and I think the Galloway behind has got damage as well. And yes, so Galloway gets damaged by hitting Willows, who goes into the back of Laura Chung, and that incident will be put under investigation. Meanwhile, De Rosa has got a problem. He's got a throttle issue, and he has to go into the pits. So it's all happening in the first 3 laps. Well, we've only got 3 laps in, and anything and everything is happening at this moment in time. So, wow. I don't even know. I think Gal is still leading at this point of the race. Meanwhile, Roberto Gamba is battling. Chatfield getting overtaken by Evan Byrne for P3 there into the first corner. Roberto Gamba and Roke making contact into turn 1 there. That could have been nasty, but they get away without any damage. A big gaggle of cars towards the end of the top 10. So look at all those positions moved. So Gal's the only one who hasn't moved up any places. We've got 2, Byrne 9, Chatfield 3, Roke 3, Gamba 3, Sontag 8, Kirby 10, Griffiths 13. Of course, Griffiths was last on the grid, of course, and he's already up into the points. That's how crazy this race has gone. Meanwhile, Willows, of course, who unfortunately has to wait because De Rosa had a problem on the same lap, so that is very unfortunate for Willows, so he's going to be held up quite a bit of time. Meanwhile, Sontag battling here with Dudu Kirby, trying to make a move on the inside, and Jamie Griffiths is there as well, so Kirby's stuck in a Williams sandwich, and Griffiths going to try and make a move on the inside here, and he actually is going to sneak past Kirby into 8th place. A good move there by Jamie Griffiths, and so now he'll go after his teammate Felix Sontag in front of him. But good job there from Jamie Griffiths. Of course, let's not forget, I mean, while this rain is quite extreme at this moment in time, and it will get lighter as we go later on in the race, but then of course it might get heavier then by the time we get to the end. So it could be interesting to see. Strategy is going to be key. It's technically always key, but in this respect it will be key, particularly in wet conditions, because fresh tyres in wet conditions can make all the difference. And Chatfield has gone way off the circuit there, and Roke says thank you very much and takes the place. And so he has gone off Chatfield, so he throws away what was a good position running in P4. and he's going to lose a whole load of positions. As you can see, all the cars just going by. There's Chatfield now rejoining the track, all the way down in 12th place now. So so the last of the cars have not had any problems on the first few laps really. But you can see Chatfield just going wide, just understeers, and once you're on the curb in the wet conditions, there's just no stopping you there. It's like an ice rink. So Chatfield goes off. Now he's going to have to regain time. Meanwhile, Cupok goes past Videri there, coming into the final corners. Evan Byrne actually sets the fastest lap of the race, interestingly. He's running at the moment in P... And actually, he's just passed Moichin for P2. So Byrne, having set the fastest lap, goes up into P2. So good job there from Byrne. Meanwhile, Griffiths is going past his teammate Sontag for P6 into the first corner. And he's on the inside and through. So Jamie Griffiths having a great start of the race. So from last to 6th in just 4 laps. Quite an incredible start for Jamie Griffiths, that is. But at the moment Gal leads. Byrne is in second. Well, the gap has already come down to 5.3 seconds. So I wonder, will Evan Byrne be close up to the back of Miguel Gal? That could be interesting. Meanwhile, David Cupok going past Dudu Kirby for P8. And he is through. So good job there from Cupok. So he's moving up places as well as Jamie Griffiths. So both cars starting on the last row of the grid are up into the top 10. I guess you wouldn't think that would happen. Meanwhile, Franco Gamba, who of course pitted earlier on for damage after hitting car, trying to regain places. He, at the moment, is behind the Alfa Romeo of Gabriel Gomez. They head towards the final corner. And Gomez defending quite hard as they go through, and Gamba trying to squeeze his way down the inside. Is he going to have to run off the corner? The answer is no. But he'll get in the slipstream if he just jinks to the right a little bit, and there we go, and he'll probably go on the inside. And Gamba, actually, despite being held up in that battle with Gomez, still sets the fastest lap of the race, as he now passes Gomez for P16. So if he sets the fastest lap and he's been held up by Gomez, now he's in clear air. We'll see how, what he's got in the locker now. Meanwhile, we're on board with Sontag at the moment, running in P7 as heading into the double right-hander. Oh, it's been hit from behind by Cupok, and they're both around. They're in a bit of a dodgy position on the circuit, but I think all the cars are going to go past them. Kirby goes by, Fideri goes by, so does Chatfield as Gamba sets another fastest lap, and they both rejoin, but Cupok tried to move on the inside there of Sontag, and unfortunately it didn't work, and Cupok gets away, and unfortunately for Sontag, he's lost a lot of time from that. And so he now does rejoin, although he makes a bit of a hash of it, although it's difficult on this wet surface, and he loses even more time as he has to let Galloway through. But now eventually Sontag does rejoin, but he drops all the way down to P14. Meanwhile, we're looking at Dudu Kirby at the moment in 7th. He's got a lot of fuel in his car, and so he's probably going to suffer in this race because heavy fuel. Oh no, the two RPs! The two racing points have come together. Moichin gets away. Roke loses a position to Roberto Gamba. So let's have a look what happened there. So Roke trying to make a move on the inside, and he clips the edge. I mean, he's lucky that he didn't take Moichin's back wheel away there, but they make contact. Unfortunately, Gamba just manages to avoid Roke there, so that could have been horrible for Racing Point, particularly for Roke, who could have been taken out then, but he can count his lucky stars that he wasn't taken out. Meanwhile, for Derry, passes Kirby for 7th into turn 1. Pretty easy move there. Of course, Fideri has got a lot of fuel as well, but not as much as Kirby, so Kirby is definitely going to struggle, and by the time he pits, the circuit probably would have dried up a little bit then, you would think. But as we're looking at Franco Gamba, who's at the moment in 16th, he's the one who's seemingly the fastest driver on the circuit at this point. Meanwhile, we're looking at De Rossa, who is behind Emilio Wilson in the manner. He's in the slipstream, and he's going to pass looks like pretty comfortably. On the inside is De Rossa, and he's up to 11th place. Good job there from De Rossa. I mean, we're looking at Chatfield, who is behind this behind Dudu Kirby. And meanwhile, actually, Roberto Gamba has now passed Moichin for P3, unseen by the cameras there. Meanwhile, we're looking at Chatfield now, who's on the back of Kirby as they're heading towards the first corner. And Chatfield is now going to be on the inside of Kirby, and this should be a pretty easy overtake. Chatfield trying to recover positions after that mistake he made earlier on. Moves back up into 8th, and now Cupok might even pass Kirby as well. And I think is he through? The answer is, I think if Cupok can get around and get a good run off the corner, and yep, so he's now up into 9th position, so Kirby losing 2 places there, so he's definitely struggling on that heavy fuel load. For the moment, Gal is leading, but however, Byrne has actually now caught him up. So this is now the battle for the lead of this race. Evan Byrne versus Miklos Gal. Meanwhile, there's a big gaggle of cars here, and Franco Gamba, who was way behind Willows when he pitted, has already caught up to him, so that's how quick Franco Gamba is. Willows trying to get past Sontag. Gamba's going to try and attempt to get past both here. It looks like he's on the inside of Willows, so he's going to pass Sontag as well as Willows hits the back of Sontag there. Franco Gamba says thank you very much and takes both places away there, so he's up into 14th position, is Franco Gamba. And meanwhile, Willows trying to get past Sontag as they're coming across the line, heading up towards the first corner. And Willows on the outside. Will he then swap to the inside for the first corner? The answer is no. And he sticks behind Sontag. And of course, these guys have had battles throughout the season where Willows has not managed to necessarily come out on top, or certainly Sontag has made it very hard for him as they're coming through the turn 2 there. You see how tricky the weather is at the moment. You can see it's absolutely monsoon weather it is. That's for sure. But Willows looks like he's finally got the run, and is going to pass Sontag for P15, which he does. And meanwhile, Gabriel Gomez is going to go no further in this race, and so he retires. As meanwhile, the battle for the lead still continues. Gal holding on from Evan Byrne in second position there. So Gal was trying everything to hold off Byrne, but Byrne seems to be the quicker car at the moment. As we come onto the front straight for lap 12 of this race, Byrne right behind the Red Bull. He's going to try and have a go on the inside. And the big question is, there's the yellow flag out for Gomez, and Byrne passes Gal, but did he pass before the yellow flag or after? If he passed after the yellow flag there, then I think Byrne may get a time penalty for that. We are going to see. So they now passed it, but I think Byrne may have passed under the yellow flag there. So I imagine we'll probably see a replay of that. Meanwhile, Moichin has been overtaken by Roke for P4, it seems. As we look at the rest of the orders, the two AlphaTauris there, side by side with each other. Kupok on the inside of Chatfield for 8th. They go very deep, but Kupok does make the move stick. And meanwhile, Byrne now has passed Miklos Gal for the lead of this race. So we need to see the replay of this. So this was into the first corner. So Byrne just much quicker than Gal. He caught him up lap by lap ever since he took second place away, and has now finally caught up to him. And this was actually the overtake, of course, into the first corner. And so yeah. Byrne did overtake under yellow flags. It looked close, but it was clear as day there. So yeah, Byrne managing to overtake him under the yellow flags. But of course, I was surprised actually when Byrne overtook him. When I even saw it live on the footage there, I'm kind of almost becoming like Jonathan Legard, or that BBC commentator. You all know who he is. But anyway, nonetheless, we're looking at Kupok, who's behind Federi on the back straight here. So Kupok is going to probably attempt to make a move into the first corner. He's going to try and go around the outside. We've got a yellow flag, and Roberto Gamba is now out. And it doesn't look like to be a crash. It looks to be a mechanical failure, and it is. It's a suspension problem for Roberto Gamba, who is running in a very comfortable third position. And you've got to feel for Roberto Gamba there, having a good race, and you can see clearly which wheel is not quite right there. It's the front left, so he is out of this race. And meanwhile, Kupok now on the back of the Alfa Romeo Federi. They've just gone past the yellow flag, but it's now gone. So Kupok has free rein to go after Federi. This is for 7th. He's on the inside, and this will be a pretty easy move. And yep, he's done it into the first corner. And so this is Kirby now battling with De Rossa. Oh, they make contact into the first corner, and De Rossa has spun. And so Kirby continues to go. And De Rossa is currently stranded right in the middle of the road. Franco Gamba is coming there. You can see the McLaren, but it's too late. And so De Rossa is out, and Franco Gamba has to pit yet again for another front wing. And he was doing so well, Gamba, trying to recover time. He seemed he was very quick, but he has to pit yet again. So this is what happened in the battle between Kirby and De Rossa. So De Rossa went around the outside of Kirby, coming down the back straight there, and then coming into the final corner. There was there contact? Nearly, but then Kirby obviously makes the move past De Rossa into the first corner, and that's when, of course, Kirby makes contact with De Rossa, and then De Rossa spins, and then obviously we saw what just happened then, but we'll see it again. So this is Kirby in the slipstream of De Rossa, and he goes for it late on the inside there. I mean, and unfortunately just understeers a little bit into De Rossa there, so it was kind of unlucky there. And unfortunately for Gamba, yep, just couldn't do it, well, so he couldn't do anything about it, but he has to pit yet again for another front wing. So you got to feel for him, already 2 new front wings in the space of 13 laps. As meanwhile, we're looking at Sontag, who's behind Emilia Wilson, and he's going to go past Wilson, looks like. Gets a much better run off the corners. We've got a couple of pit calls for drivers to come into the pits. So sometimes he was at shot, and there's De Ross's car that's been pushed away. So again, Byrne, while he has taken the lead, he's not exactly gotten away from Gao in second place. So Gao at the moment keeping him on his toes. And Franco Gamma, of course, is pitting for that new front wing, of course. There were a couple of other pit calls, I'm not sure. So Roke is pitting actually in P3. There's obviously a pit call for Gamba. So George Roke is one of the first ones to pit in this race. And of course, fresh tyres in wet conditions are certainly key. Meanwhile, the incident between Chung and Willows was concluded to be a racing incident, so I think that is probably fair enough. As we're looking at Griffiths at the moment, who's set to be running in P4. Jamie Griffiths in a Williams, set to be running in P4 at this moment in time, and that is quite a stat. You never think that Griffiths, who started last, will be running in P4 after 14 laps. That's how crazy this race is, and we're only 14 laps in, and we've still got 3/4 of this race left to go. And so this battle between this is, I think, Chatfield and Federi continues. They head towards the first corner. Chatfield is going to try and go around the outside of Federi. I don't think it's quite going to work, and the answer is no. Meanwhile, Roke is just coming out of the pits there, and I think he's going to come out just ahead of this battle, and yes, he does. So he comes out crucially ahead of Chatfield and Federi. He has to get past the Alpha of David Kupok, though, but still, he probably won't take too long with fresh tyres. As Chatfield in the slipstream of Federi. Will he get a good run off the corner? He's going to try and go for it. Federi is not making it easy, but Chatfield is going for it on the inside, and he is through up into 7th position. So good job there from Chatfield. As now we're looking at Federi, who's going to try and chase back after him. Meanwhile, Byrne still leads, but, well, I say leads. He's got that 5-second penalty, so Gal technically leads, but on the circuit, Byrne does lead. So you see how far Moitin is away, actually, when he's almost a pit stop away, as Galloway goes past Wilson like she's not there on the front straight there. I think he's just pitted, actually, Galloway, so I think that is fresh tyres coming into play. But as we look now at them coming into the final corner, although Galloway does go a little bit wide there.
Okay, no pressure.
Meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths is in to the pits, so of course they're still on the extreme wet tyres. Obviously the blue tyres are just the normal wet, so at the moment it's still pretty wet, although it looks like it has stopped raining for the time being anyway. As meanwhile, Roke is now all over the back of David Kupok in the AlphaTauri. This is the battle for P4. Roke trying to get past him as he's currently holding him up quite a bit. You can see how quick Roke is off the corner there. Kupok certainly not making it easy for him. And Roke going to go for it down the inside. Is he going to make it stick? And Kupok goes a little bit wide. No, I think Kupok might have to run off the corner actually. And yep, I think he's just about going to hold it. And yes, he does. So Kupok not making it easy for Roke to get past him here. But as we look at this battle still going on, Roke now going to try and make a move into the next corner. He's going to go for it. Kupok going to block him off, I think. Is there going to be contact? And no, not quite. But no, I think Roke does just about sneak through. And yes, he now moves up into P4 past Kupok. Probably a little bit harder than he would have wanted Kupok to make it for him, but he still got it done. And this was the replay of it again. I mean, there wasn't any contact actually, so it was a clean move actually, so which is of course a good thing. Meanwhile, Joseph Willard trying to get past Kirby, who's a little bit all over the show, coming off the corner there into the hairpin. No, you can see him locking up at all. There's contact. There is contact, but Willard does make it through. But Kirby's struggling at the moment for grip, and of course he's one of the ones that is going long on this stint, which I don't think is going to do him many favours. Meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths is coming up to the back of Chatfield here. This is for P6. I think Griffiths has pitted because he was running in P4, so he must have pitted. So he's going to try and attempt to overtake Chatfield onto the back straight here, and I think he might just do it pretty easily. You can see how, I mean, with fresh tyres, look at the pace that he's got, and he steamrolls past Chatfield for 6th place, heading in towards the final corner. Unless he does try and get it back, Chatfield, he does have a look, but he can't do anything about it really, as Griffiths is through up into P6, so fresh tyres really coming into play at this moment in time. Byrne lead to Gao is still 3.5 seconds, so I think he's edging away, starting to edge away now, Byrne. But he's still, I thought Byrne, having got past Gao, would probably edge away a little bit more, but it's still pretty close. Gao is keeping him honest at this moment in time. As we're now looking at Roke in P4, he's going to come up obviously to Moitian P3 probably fairly soon. because of course Malaysian is on wet tyres, and he is still going to be going on those wet tyres for a long time. Rogue's on fresh tyres, and as I said, fresh tyres here, well, not just here, but in wet conditions, are key, really. But it looks like actually Byrne is starting to extend the lead now. It's nearly 4 seconds. And meanwhile, Frank Gamba down in 13th place, trying to get past the Renault of Jake Galloway here. This is for P12, and he's going to go around the outside of Galloway. He's certainly going to do it. And look at the speed that Gamba has around the outside, and that's a great move. Oh, no, he hasn't done it. I thought he had. I really thought he had done it there. But Galloway holds it around the outside. I thought Gamba would just go around the outside like your favourites Eminem song. But no, but he might try it this time, and he goes on the inside, and to make it easier for him, he does get past Galloway there, so now he'll go after Felix Sontag in 11th position. But Gamba has had it all so far. 2 wing changes in the first 13 laps of this race, so I'll have to hope that the rest of this race is clean. But this is Malaysia and also in wet conditions, so yeah, it's probably not going to happen really, but it's just all about who manages to survive. But as we're coming to the end of the sector, and you can see he's already gaining on Sontag in front of him. Meanwhile, Federi is under pressure from Joseph Willows, who makes a little mistake there, a little twitch. But he's still behind Federi. He gets a good run through the penultimate corner, turn 14, now heading up down the back straight towards turn 15. Will Willows go around the outside of Federi? It looks like he will. Gets a good run off the corner, and Willows easily goes past Federi for 8th position. And there we go. He's now up into 8th, although Federi might try and have a go back. But he can't quite make the move stick there, and so Willows has now completed it fully, and now up to 8th place, and as Federi does an almighty dive bomb into the first corner. I don't see that happening. I mean, well, Gambo's already, you see, caught up actually to Sontag, and already passed him for 11th position, so that proves how quick the fresh tyres are. Byrne is once again edging away now from Miguel Gal. Gal still leads because of that 5-second penalty, but on track, Byrne has got the gap, and this is Gamba, who's already on the back of Dudu Kirby for 10th, and yep, he's now already up into 10th. So Gamba, despite having those 2 wing changes, is so fast, Ricky Bobby style. He really wants to go fast, and meanwhile Jake Galloway is moving up as well. He goes past Sontag there for P12, or does he? Sontag holds it round the inside, so no, actually he doesn't. Sontag holds the position, and so Galloway going to have to try it again, this time on the front straight, heading towards the first corner if he's close enough. So I imagine if he has the grip on those tyres, he can get the slipstream and make a move on the inside into the first corner. And so is he quite close enough? He's now in the slipstream now, but he's a little bit late. So unless he does an almighty dive bomb. And oh, yeah, never mind. Yes, Sontag outbrakes himself into the first corner, and Galloway makes the move very easily there. You can see just goes way too wide there. Sontag, and Galloway says thank you very much. Meanwhile, Evan Byrne, the race leader, now comes into the pits for his first stop of the race. So I mean, the conditions have eased up a bit. It's not quite, it's still wet, it's still of course extremely wet, but will it be dry enough for the normal wet tyres? So Byrne comes in, and we'll see if they do decide to go for the wet tyres or not. And the answer is no. Looks like they stay on the extreme wets. So that will continue. And so now Byrne rejoins. So where will he rejoin? He'll rejoin, I think, in P2. So he'll have free reign to go after Gal once he pits. Meanwhile, Gamba attempting to go around the outside of Federi there. Doesn't quite work as Federi defends, or it's not easy to overtake around that part of the circuit. Well, you can see how much. You can see Gamba is just tearing through the field right now as he's really wanting to get past Federi, but Federi is not making it easy for him at this moment in time. And so coming around the penultimate corner, turn 14, he's not going to do it around the outside, but he can just easily out-drag him with the more grip on those tyres, surely. And yet Gamba's just going to do exactly that. And there we go, goes past Federi, and he's already up into P9. So, and Gamba is extremely fast at this moment in time, it seems. Federi just tried his best, but had no answer for Gamba. And Gamba himself, if he's this quick, he's going quite long on this. He's going longish on this stint, but it'll make one more stop. So we'll see what Gamba can do later on in the race. But at this moment in time, of course, Gal leads. Byrne is second, having made the stop. Ronamoichin is in third, but he has not made a stop yet. Meanwhile, Willows is going past Chatfield for 7th position into turn 1, which he does so. And so that is that. And so we're looking as Chatfield attempts to make it back, but it's not going to work. You see, look at that. You can see Franco Gamba's already almost caught up to these two already, and Chatfield is still in the slipstream of Willows. Would he make a late move? And no, I don't think he was. Not quite close enough. But you can see how much Gamba is gaining behind. Less than 3 seconds already, and he'll get up to them by the end of the lap, maybe even to the end of the sector even. Byrne gap to Gao is 17 seconds, but Gao is still going long on this stint. So yeah, I mean, I think Byrne is in a pretty favourable position at this moment in time. Of course, the drivers can pit early if they feel the tyres it's enough for a change of compound, but we'll see if that happens or not. Meanwhile, Gamba on the back of Chatfield, going to try and go around the outside of Chatfield. Gets a much better run at the corners. Thank you very much. Up into 8th position. Gamba is absolutely flying, although Chatfield is going to have a go at it back into the hairpin, but Gamba keeps the position there. He was not going to let Chatfield get that back there. Yes, Gamba now through up to 8th, and he'll now get up to Willows and probably overtake him on the back straight. You can see already how much he gained just in that corner alone. He is flying, is Franco Gamba, and he's going to be up into 7th position. You can see, look, on the back of Willows, coming into the penultimate corner, he's going to out-drag Willows on the straight. We've seen it all before, and so here we go, and there we go, construct to the inside, and Gamba is going to easily go past Willows, and there you go, he's now up into 7th position. He's got plenty of clear air in front of him, but he looks to be in a comfortable points position, does Gamba, although Willows might even try and take it back, which he does. Willows does take the position back, actually. He's not going to take it lying down, and Gamba was pushing him through the exit of the corner there. He's going to get a better exit yet again onto the front straight, and surely he's going to go past Willows again, so he's now into 7th, but will Willows keep it on the inside for turn 1? Is going to be the big question, and Willows does keep it on the inside. Will Gamba go around the outside? The answer is no. Willows goes slightly too deep, so now will Gamba go around the outside, and he's going to attempt to, but he can't quite do it. He's not got the grip. Now will he try and go around the outside of this corner like he tried with Galloway? He's got a better run around the outside. Will he do it this time round? And the answer is yes, he does. He finally does make it around the outside of Willows. A good little battle there for a few corners, as Willows once again does attempt to have a go at repassing Gamba, but this time it won't work. And actually, Willows, who's pitting on this lap, as a matter of fact, so it was a good, nice, good battle there between the two. This is the on-board, so I mean, Gamba thought he had the move sewn up, but Willows was like, "Oh no, you don't," and died down the inside. Probably caught Gamba a little bit unawares. And then Gamba tried to go around the outside. He had a much better run off the corner, but Willows was able to keep it on the inside. That straight line speed of the McLaren, keeping him ahead, and then on the inside, Gamba just wasn't going to be able to make it around the outside. I mean, so Willows went on the inside, and then he went slightly, ever so slightly too deep, and Gamba tried to go back around the outside then, through turn 1 and then into turn 2, but it wasn't going to work. And then so he tried, and then Gamba did go around the outside, and this time it actually worked because he had the grip, and Willows just didn't have any more to give. Meanwhile, Byrne, by the way, is only 10 seconds now off Gao, having pitted, so Gao might be in a lot of trouble here. Meanwhile, Roke now trying to pass his teammate Moishin once again. This is for P3, and he is going to go by the racing point, and he does. He goes past his teammate, although Moichin is going to try to take it back, and does he keep it still side by side? But I think Roke's going to have the momentum off the corner, and yes, he does. So he now moves back up into P3, does George Roke. Meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths at the moment running in a very solid P5. Let's not forget about him at this moment in time, doing a great race for Williams, trying to get some more points on the board for them. And so as we look now at Gamba, who at the moment is in 7th, but now he'll move up into 6th place because David Kupok is now coming into the pits. And so the gap Gal to Byrne is now down to less than 7 seconds, so Gal is obviously almost running on rims on those wet tyres, so he needs to really pit sooner rather than later, otherwise, well, Byrne is going to eat him up, as we've got a yellow flag out on the circuit, and Federi is around. He has spun, and he's done, I think it looks like the same mistake that Chris Chatfield did earlier on in the race. And yep, he breaks, understeers, goes wide onto the AstroTurf and spins out. Doesn't quite do it as badly as Chatfield by going onto the gravel per se, but still goes wide. So Kupok is in, and of course, so is Willows. As meanwhile, Sontag going past Dudu Kirby on the front, on the back straight there, up into 11th position. And so there we go. That's a move for Sontag past the Brazilian driver Kirby, who of course still yet to score a point this season, and one thing he'd probably love to do in his only OC season before his retirement would be to score a point. And it'll still be pretty salty that, of course, he didn't get that point in Spa when his car broke down late on. Meanwhile, Kirby is attempting to get back past Sontag actually into turn 1. He's going to go for it. Oh, and there's contact between the two. And so Kirby does make it through, and Sontag actually is going to be pitting this lap, and Sontag won't like that. And right behind the Haas there, could have maybe even tried to bump him then as well. Byrne is just 4 seconds behind, and Old Willers gets past Videri, actually forces Videri into a little mistake there, and moves up into 12th position. So behind Kirby, going to try and re-overtake him before he goes into the pits on the same lap as well. But it's all happening in the moment in this race. We're not even halfway through yet. We're nearly halfway through. But meanwhile, we're looking at Evan Byrne, and look at that, he's already caught up to the back of Gal on those fresh wet tyres. Gal really struggling. And I think the strategy that Red Bull were hoping for him is certainly not working out, so they might as well just pit him now. Byrne going to attempt to go around the outside. I'm not sure that's going to work. We've got another yellow flag up the circuit, and it's Sontag who's around again at the same corner he was off again. And this time it seems to be in a collision with Dudu Kirby. And so he tried it on the inside, and was there contact? And oh, yes, there was. And Kirby actually has damage as well. So Kirby going to have to pit for a new rear wing. Of course, you can do it in this game. Willows manages to sneak his way through, hits the debris, but doesn't get damaged. So Willows gets through there and gains a lot. But meanwhile, speaking of gaining a lot, Byrne right behind Gal. This is for the race lead. The yellow flag out there, but it's not out. So Marshall can go away. Byrne going to have a go down the inside. As he made it stick, and Gal makes a mistake. He goes very wide, and Byrne takes the lead of this race. And while Miklas Gal, he's still got ages to go until he pits. So once he pits, he'll be very quick. But I just don't think it's the optimum strategy for Red Bull here. So Byrne now retakes the lead of this race, and he's looking pretty good at the moment, Evan Byrne. Meanwhile, this is Jamie Griffiths, who's now on the back of Renamoichin, who himself has not actually pitted this race. But Griffiths, who's on fresh tyres, going to try and go past Moichin for P4, as they almost push each other through the corner there. Oh, Moichin goes a bit wide onto the curb, and that's all Griffiths needs, and he's up into P4. So again, a fantastic performance so far from Jamie Griffiths. You could call it luck and whatnot because of the wet conditions, but he does deserve to be up there, so fair play. He has done a good job so far. He's in the top 4. He's in with a shout of a top 5 this race. Frank Aguirre at the moment running in P6, and he is about 20 seconds behind Moichin, but he's still doing a good job as Kupok actually goes past his teammate Chatfield there. That is for P7. But I mean, Gamba, who himself, Frank Gamba, that is, of course, who had those 2 wing changes. I mean, his pace has been immense. The fact he's up into he's up in the top 6, despite that, is quite incredible, really, you'd have to say. But anyway, we're looking now on board with David Kupok, who of course just passed his teammate Chatfield for 7th. Those two have been kind of battling each other throughout the whole of this race so far. And by the way, look at the gap that Byrne has already got to Gao. 11 seconds now that he's passed him. So Gao is really... he needs to pit, otherwise he's going to be done for, really. And you can see he's already done for already, but there's still half of this race left to go. So we're looking now on board with the Haas, who actually, by the way, is now on the blue tyres, the wet tyres, so the track getting a little bit drier, as Kirby now goes past Wilson for top place. Of course, that's Kirby who had to pit, of course, after getting hit by Felix Sontag as they come to the corner, though Kirby breaks extremely early into the corner there. So, I mean, I think Kirby's actually the first one to go onto the normal wets, and clearly, if he's past Wilson, then they must be about on the same level, if not better. So I wonder when when drivers start to come in next, if they'll start to go on the wet tyres. I mean, Byrne, at the moment he's doing good enough on these tyres, but when he pits next, surely it'll be for the normal wets. So, I mean, the gap to Gao is a huge amount at this moment in time, as Sontag battling with Amelia Wilson, was pushing her through the first couple of corners there as the blue flag is out, but Sontag going to go around the outside and take 13th position away from Wilson. So they've got the blue flag out for the racing point of Roke behind there. So Sontag goes through, but Wilson will have to let Roke go back by. And so Cal is almost a pit stop behind Evan Byrne before he even goes in, which is just ridiculous. I mean, Gal will be quick once he goes in, but it's still not been made easy for him, that is for sure. Meanwhile, Franco Gamba is on the back of Renamoichin. This is for P5. So Moitin himself is not pitted yet, but Gamma is seemingly on the pace in the moment in time and is almost going to get back up into the top 5 in this race. But Gao has not got too long to go until he pits, but I imagine he's waiting as long as he can to go onto the normal wet tyres and then try and go after burn, you could say. As meanwhile Gamma goes by Roland Moitin very easily and is now up into the top 5 in this race. I mean, he's a fair bit behind. I think it was about 13 seconds the gap behind Griffiths, but I mean, Gamma's side through the pack so quickly, he'll catch Griffiths in about 3 laps, probably judging by this pace that he's got, you would think. So looking at Sontok, who's now himself trying to get back past traffic on the fresh tyres, going past Dudu Kirby. This time, can he do it cleanly? And he does go around the outside there, so that is a pretty simple move. Although will Kirby try and get it back on the inside? The answer is he'll have a go and ooh, that was close contact there. But I think Sontok has got the run off the corner and now is going to finally overtake Kirby and be rid of him. So we've got another yellow flag out, and this time it's Jake Galloway. Oh, I thought for a second then it was Evan Byrne. And this was a battle between Galloway and Willows, so Galloway went wide on the AstroTurf and lost control and spun in that battle with Willows there. So, yep, that is going on. So this is the battle now for Peters. This is Roke, who's now caught up to the back of Gal, and this actually is important because Gal himself is pitting soon, so this is legitimately a battle for position. Roke wanting to get past Gal before he pits once again, as Chatfield gets overtaken by Galloway for 9th, coming onto the back straight there, so another overtake by the power of the fresh wet tyres, although Chatfield does again have a look on the inside but fails. Roke tries to get by there, and he has the Haas behind there. Think of Kirby as Roke in the situation. Can he make a move on Gal on the inside? He's going to go for it. Gal defends, but Roke is going to pass him for 2nd position here, and so Roke now on the inside, and he's got slightly less fuel than Gal, but for Miguel Gal, it's a terrible strategy from Red Bull. It's not working out for him, and so he's now down to 3rd, and he might even be unlapped by Kirby here. And even worse for Gal is that he might even be passed by Jamie Griffiths. That's how slow he is. And that's the power of the fresh wet tyres. And Griffiths himself, if he passes him, he's in legitimately 3rd place. Griffiths going to have a go on the inside here. Gal's got no answer. Gal trying to hold out, but it's just not working out for him. And Griffiths trying on the inside there as the Haas is there as well, trying to unlap himself. And so Griffiths going to try and look around the outside. And there's almost contact, but he goes round the outside, passes Griffiths. And oh no! And the Haas there of Kirby really getting himself involved, and how they got away with that. I mean, so Gal gets the position straight back. Griffiths will not be happy about that, as Kirby was unlapping himself, but he's really sticking his nose in where it doesn't belong. So there was the contact from Kirby, then went into Griffiths, and they're very lucky. There was no damage, no wheels flying about there, but Griffiths once again on the back of Nicholas Gal. This is for P3. What a great battle this is. You would not expect Griffiths, who started last, to be battling with Gal for P3. As now Franco Gamma has got himself involved in this as well. Gamma's caught up to this. Griffiths has passed Gal, and so has Franco Gamma. Incredible that Gamma out of nowhere. I forgot actually. I mean, of course, I realised it. Remember, he was quite far behind, but that's how quick Gamma is. He is insanely fast. And Gal has been left for dust, and Gamma now trying to go past Griffiths for P3. So Gamma legitimately is within a shout of a podium here. And we've got, 25 laps to go as Gamma now down the inside of Griffiths. They almost make contact as Gamma struggles to stop the car. And he is past Griffiths for 3rd. Would you believe it? Franco Gamma is insane. He's now up into, I should say 3rd. He's up into 2nd now, actually, I should say. But incredible. How Gamma is in P2 after his 2 wing changes, I don't believe it. Of course, I forget... yeah, I mean, I think Roke must have pitted. That's why, because George Roke has pitted, so I was wondering why it was 2nd then. So Roke is now pitted, but he's pitting once more before the end. He goes onto the wet tyres as well. Meanwhile, Amelia Wilson is in the pits for a stop. And now we're looking at Martinez, who's on the back of Federi. This is for 13th position. But Martinez trying to get out of 14th and going up to 13th, and is going to go around the outside, sneaks around there as there's nearly contact. Federi trying to hold it down the inside here. Yeah, there we go. But I will remind you, of course, that there is a leader. Evan Byrne is the one who's leading this race pretty comfortably at the moment of time, as Gal finally pits for a set of fresh, you could say, wet tyres. I mean, Gal will now be pretty quick, but I mean, was it really worth it? I don't know. Well, we'll see come the end of it. But I mean, a number of drivers I think are going to be pitting once more than him, so Gal's going to have to get these tyres to the end of the race. But again, the fact he was so slow and he was dropping like a fly. So at the moment, but let's not forget, Evan Byrne is leading by almost by 50 seconds ahead of Franco Gamba's second position. We totally forgot about him because Byrne is just dominated. I mean, everyone else behind him has just been falling over each other. And Gal, of course, his strategy not very good. As there was a fastest lap there, I couldn't quite tell who that was from. Meanwhile, Franco Gamba is now coming into the pits, and look how much fuel he's got left. So this is definitely, I mean, if he was that fast on these tyres, he's definitely going to be coming into the pits for a fresh set of wet tyres. So this is tactical here. I mean, so into the pits he comes, and he'll go onto the wet tyres. So it is now that time. And so does Gamba go to the end? And the answer is 10, 20... no, so Franco Gamba actually is not going to the end, but I think the tactic here is he's going to be so fast on these wet tyres, I don't think it's going to matter. Well, I suppose Byrne is still, of course, racing, but we'll see when Byrne comes into the pits as well. But, I mean, by the time... Byrne is coming in not for a while anyway. So Gamba will catch up to Byrne pretty quickly, but he's still already so far behind. He'll get up to him, that's for sure. Probably get within maybe 20 seconds, I'd say. As actually Roland Moitin now sets the fastest lap for Racing Point. But yeah, so I mean, amazingly, by the way, Jamie Griffiths is in P2 at the moment. That is right. Jamie Griffiths, who started P22, is now P2. This is just ridiculous, this race. Meanwhile, Roque now going past lap traffic. He's up in P4. Goes past the manor of Martinez, who is not making it too easy for him actually coming around the corner. And oh, there's contact! Oh, and Martinez is out, and Roque has hit him. And Roque has damaged his front wing. And that's great news for Griffiths, for Gal, and for Franco Gamba, for all of these guys. And, wow, Griffiths goes... Gamba goes past there, but for George Roque, who's running actually in a pretty good position, was on for a podium. It's not going to happen now, probably by the looks of it, and he's gone into the manor of Martinez, who is now out of this race. So we need to see a replay. What on earth was that about? But for Roque, he'll be fuming that has just happened to him. So he was trying to get past Martinez, who was under blue flag instructions, obviously. And you can see from this angle, I mean, I suppose Roque does kind of steer a little bit and doesn't quite, misses the apex by quite a margin, you would say. That is part of it. But I suppose you think, well, why didn't Martinez just get out of the way anyway? So I think Roque could have got through there a bit better, but I think Martinez should have just let him through. So I think a 50-50 incident in that one. Meanwhile, this is the battle for P. What is this? P2. This is Griffiths versus Kupok. And Kupok himself actually is still on the monsoon tyres, and Griffiths is as well. So I think Griffiths now is starting to struggle for grip. I think he's now reached the cliff, but Kupok now running in a good position as well, actually. And when he next pits, he'll go onto the wet tyres, as Martin's still getting pushed off, as Moitin set another fastest lap. But Griffiths actually himself is going to be coming into the pits this lap, as meanwhile Gamba still is very quick on these tyres, already up on his lap, as Gal is himself going to try and recover time, as Moitin himself is actually going to be going to the end of this race. Roque now does pit and will obviously once again already be on the wet tyres. And does he go to the end? And the answer is no, actually. He doesn't go to the end, so unfortunately for Roque, it's not great for him. And he was running it again in such a promising position, but it's not happening for him at this moment in time. As we're looking at Chatford, who's behind Sontag, this is the battle for P10 as they're coming through the final corner here. And so, as we've got a yellow flag out on the circuit, and oh no, no, you can't be, no way. Oh, I don't know what to, you can't be serious with this. Evan Byrne leading this race his engine has blown up. Would you believe it? And he was on course for a comfortable victory. And Evan, but I mean, now that is the definition of unlucky right there. And so incredibly, David Kupok, out of all people, is going to lead this race. I can't. I'd be destroying everything in the Renault garage after that. Evan Byrne, he had dominated, had not put a foot wrong in this race, and he is now going to go away with no points. As meanwhile, Franco Gamba, who has been the fastest guy, I think, all race, sets the fastest laps. Let's not count him out of a possibility of a race win here, because he is insanely quick. But incredibly, David Kupok is going to lead this race. Griffiths is going to be second, and Franco Gamba is going to be third. But I think, but it won't be long actually. Gamba will be second, because Griffiths actually was pitting his laps. So Gamba will be second, and Cupok will be first, but Gamba is going quite long in this stint, so I think actually Franco Gamba, having just figured it out, is going to lead this race in the end, it looks like. Despite having 2 wing changes earlier on and being nearly a lap down almost straight away, he might lead this. But again, you have to feel for Evan Byrne there. Didn't put a foot wrong and he'll get nothing. So, as meanwhile, Griffiths comes out the pits and crucially does come out ahead of Roland Moichin. He comes up behind Gals, so I don't know if he'll be able to overtake him on the circuit, but here we are. So Gamba is in second position, but he is just ridiculously fast. Cupok at the moment leads this race, but he's pitting soon. So Gamba himself, who has not got enough fuel, by the way, to get to the end. And actually, no, that wasn't Cupok, that was Chatfield. I was panicking there for a second, but Cupok himself. So Cupok is pitting before the end as well, and so is Gamba. But I don't think Cupok will have any answer to Gamba at all, as Griffiths and Moichin battling. This is for P5 here, and Griffiths gets through into P5. So that was pretty quick there for JB Griffiths. He's having an insane race, and unfortunately for Moichin, I don't think his strategy has worked. And of course, he's going to the end, but we've seen what fresh tyres can do, and if he doesn't pit, then he's going to struggle, Moichin, again. But he's not, so he is probably going to struggle. But there we go. But JB Griffiths legitimately running in the top 5 at this moment in time. Moichin just doesn't have an answer to him. Gal at the moment running in P4. Willows, by the way, is in P3, incredibly. But at the moment, Cupok leading this race, but Gamba is already closing the gap. It's now only 7 seconds as Miklos Gal is... Oh, Gal's made a mistake! Gal is off! And Gal chasing Willows makes a huge mistake there, and he goes off the circuit. And of course, Gal himself is going to the end of this race on that one stop, and wow, he drops down in 6th position, and could that cost him come the end of the race? It probably will, but he was running in 4th and trying to go after Joseph Willows. He loses a position to Griffiths, and then moves up into P4, and also loses a position to Moichin, so he won't be happy about that. Meanwhile, Jake Galloway is in for his final stop of the race, or at least you would think so. And the answer is it is not his final stop of the race. And he's going to be hitting one more time. Meanwhile, so David Cupok now going in for his final stop. And so, incredibly, Franco Gamba is going to lead this race. And this race has just been ridiculous. So Franco Gamba, who had 2 wing changes in the first 13 laps, is going to lead the Malaysian Grand Prix. I mean, what is this race? Like, what is this race? And he sets another fastest lap. So I think Gamba's almost got this win sewn up, unless, of course, anything happens to him. But he's just been so fast throughout this whole race. I mean, Willows, incredibly, if Cupok comes to the bits, might even be in 2nd position. And by the way, how has Willows managed to get into 2nd? He's had 1 wing change, I think, when he went into the back of Laura Chung earlier on, and then got hit as well by Galloway. And Galloway himself, actually, has not had a particularly great race, considering the fact if Willows is up into 2nd. Well, he won't now be, actually, because he pits it on the same lap. Meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths, incredibly, Jamie Griffiths, I will repeat, Jamie Griffiths is now back up into 2nd place, but Moichin is still there behind him. But of course, Griffiths actually, as we see, it's got 1 more stop to go, so... and of course, Moichin doesn't, so that is actually quite an interesting strategy. There's so... Oh, this is just so good! This is so good! And Willows himself has actually... They've not fueled him to the end, actually, Joseph Willows. So that is very interesting. So he was running up there, but it'll be pretty quick. So I think they're all going for the tactic of just go for it, and then near the end, they'll pit and put up on new fresh set of wets, and they can absolutely rang the car. But to the moment, again, Franco Gamba is leading this race. He's got a huge lead over Jamie Griffiths, who himself is pitting. So Gamba is comfortably in the lead at this moment in time. He's legitimately leading this race. Incredibly, again, so it's Gamba leading, Griffiths in 2nd, Moichin in 3rd, Cupok in 4th. Again, this race is just obscene. Yeah, it's just absolutely absurd. This race, meanwhile, a pit in for Felix Sontag in 8th position. He's running just inside the point. So we've still got a fair few cars left in this race. I mean, we saw what happened in Spa when it was the first race of the season when it was wet. We only had, what was it, I think 9 cars finishing the race. But anyway, so Sontag is in and goes on to the wets. He goes to the end. Gamba sets yet again another fastest lap. And of course, let's not forget, he's going to be pitting 1 more time before the end anyway. So he's just almost flexing on the field at this moment in time. So Willows in 7th position is also not going to the end. But he's doing the tactic of many drivers it is of... and Cupok is around! And David Cupok spins from P4. He was going after Moichin in P3. And that's a crucial mistake there from David Cupok. And he goes into the back of Moichin and spins. Moichin stays on the circuit there. As meanwhile, there's a big gaggle of cars in the battle. Oh, Gamber. That was nearly a third wing change there for Gamber. He almost goes into the back of Galloway there as he attempts to lap him. That could have gone horribly wrong. Unfortunately, it didn't. And again, I suppose it wouldn't have still mattered for Frank Gamber, because he still probably would have come out in the lead anyway, because he's 29 seconds ahead of Griffiths in second position. But then we might have actually seen Griffiths leading the race in the Williams. Now that would have been quite something, as meanwhile Galloway is also trying to unlap himself past Gamber here, heading towards the first corner. I know the Gamber is going to like that as they come into the first corner, and no, he doesn't let that happen. Now this is Cupok versus Moichin yet again. This is the battle for P3, and Gal's not too far behind either, so this is an important battle here for the podium places. And so Cupok going to go down the inside or attempt to, and there's contact yet again. But they keep it on the road. But these guys battling each other so hard is not going to be good for them, because again Miklos Gau is going to close up to them behind. Cupok going to get a good run off the final corner. Is he going to go around the outside as Jamie Griffiths, by the way, pits for the final time? You can just see him in the corner of your screen. And there is Gau in the background. Cupok doesn't make the move past Moichin into the first corner, so he has to wait yet again. And so as we look at Cupok almost following Moichin through the first couple of corners, and so he's going to try and maybe have a go into turn 4. He's clearly quicker than Moichin, but of course he made that mistake trying to make contact with him. And now Cupok on the inside of Moichin for P3, or I should say P2 now. And he does make it stick finally. And of course now Miklos Gau might even himself try and take advantage of this too. But Cupok now does make it up into P2. As meanwhile Willow's now attacking Roke for P5. As they're coming into the final corner here, and Willow's on the inside, and does he make it stick? And yes, so Willow's moves up into P5. So Willow's again. So I'm trying to get, apart from obviously the crash which he had with Chung and Galloway, I don't think he actually has been involved in too much this race. But meanwhile, this is Cupok trying to lap some traffic here. Moichin at the moment in P3, but Gau of course is right there trying to overtake his fellow Hungarian, as Kirby is now being a nuisance. Tried to unlap himself again, and he now unlaps himself past Moichin. That's good news for Gau, as he's going to be able to catch up as well. But Griffiths himself, of course, is going to be going to the end of this race, and Roke himself actually is going to be pitting this lap for a new set of fresh wet tyres. So Griffiths himself, so of course, we'll be interested to see if Roke can catch up to Griffiths or not. Griffiths is already up on this sector by nearly half a second. But you can see, by the way, Frank Gabbett is 40 seconds ahead of Cupok at this moment, at this point, as now Gau goes down the inside of Moichin for P3. Of course, both those guys are going to be going to the end, but Moichin is going to struggle more, as Cupok, of course, running in the moment in P2. Now, can Gau get after Cupok for P2? Of course, he's got those that lap traffic which he's got to deal with in front of him to get by, which is going to be very fun for him indeed. Of course, Roke coming in the pits, he'll be pitting once more. We'll see how if he'll be able to catch, I suppose, Gau and Moichin, because he's a little bit off, but fresh tyres, as I said, with 13 laps, and these guys are going to the end, then it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. Battle for P11, this is between Kirby and Federi. Federi holding it into the final corner. Kirby goes a little bit wide there. Now Gau is attempting to lap these guys as they're in a battle, as Federi gets a very sluggish run through the corner. Now Gau is lapping Federi, goes around the outside of him. So they head towards the first corner. Now Gau will go after Kirby in front of him. You would think so. Would he go for it into the first corner? The answer is no, he doesn't. Kirby again has been a bit of a nuisance for the top guys at this point in the race. So as we're looking now at Gau right behind the Brazilian of Kirby, attempting to lap him at this point. Roke, of course, is in the pits for his final stop. I mean, there are still a few seconds off Cupok, so Cupok will be delighted that these guys are holding each other up at this point. So Roke is in, so Griff is now up into P6. Gau now going to attempt to lap Dudu Kirby, although he's not making it easy for him at this moment in time, of course. And so, as we look at them coming through the fast right hand here, coming into the double right, Moichin dropping away, it seems. Griff is still showing some good pace at this point. And so, as we're looking now this is Willows on the back of Moichin. This is for P4, so I think Moichin definitely struggling. I've got Willows, obviously, who is pitting once more. Moichin is not going to make it easy, but Willows going to make it down the inside, and he makes it. Meanwhile, George Rokic is just the fastest lap in the racing point, actually, so he let's not count him out of this. So he's pretty quick, as it looks like George Rokic at this moment in time, having just made his final stop of the race. He's made 4 stops, of course, down in 7th position, so pace obviously still there to be found. So as we're looking now at Moichin coming through the double right-hander there, but he's certainly struggling, Moichin, for pace. I don't think he's going to be able to get a podium out of this one. Meanwhile, of course, we're still forgetting, of course, Franco Gamba leading comfortably up front, and doesn't look like anything can hamper him, of course. And I mean, let's not forget, anything could still happen to him at this point in the race. Meanwhile, Jake Galloway is in. Roke at the moment, obviously, just at the fastest lap in 7th position. He can still gain more positions. He's a little bit off at the moment, but on those fresh wets, if he's that quick, never know what could happen as Galloway comes out from his final pit stop of the race. Meanwhile, Gamba, again, just showing off up front. Now, meanwhile, this is Jamie Griffiths on the fresh wets, all over the back of Moichin for P5, and Moichin is just going to have no answer to him, as Griffiths is going to attempt to go around the outside, although the Mercedes power just about keeping Moichin alongside. But Griffiths now does take P5 away from him, and so Moichin, he might as well just pit now and go for a fresh pair of wets before the end, because at the moment he's just going to severely struggle to get anything more out of this race, you would think. So as we look now at Miklos Gal at the moment, running in 3rd position, Willows is closing behind him, but Willows obviously crucially has to pit one more time. But well, again, there's still a few drivers that have to pit late on, which will be very interesting to see, as Griffiths attempting to pass the Alfa Romeo here. Not making it easy for him to unlap him, as Griffiths now finally goes around the outside. Oh, Federi! Oh, my word. And again, very lucky to get away with that damage. Federi should just let it go, and he finally does let him get through. So now Franco Gamba does come in for his final stop of the race. And yeah, it's just been total utter dominance ever since he took the lead of this race, Franco Gamba. I don't think anyone really would have expected this, really. But as Gamba now changes all 4 tyres onto a new pair of wets, and so Gamba now comes out of the pits. I think that's pretty quick. I was like 4.7 seconds, so they're even flexing on them with the fast pit stops. Oh, Red Bull, they are in just a league of their own at this point. And so as we're looking at this is I think Chris Chatfield, yeah, in 9th position, battling as obviously Gamba now comes at the pits, and what a surprise, he's still in the lead of this race. So he comes out again on the wet tyres. At the moment, by the way, Roke is only less than 10 seconds away from Moichin, so I think Moichin is going to be overtaken by Roke by the time they get to the end. Willows, meanwhile, is going to pit once more, of course, but I mean, he'll drop out of the this battle, maybe for the podium, but he'll be so quick, Willows, at the end, because he's one of the last ones to pit from this race. So let's not count Willows out of this just yet, by the way. So he now goes in. So Jamie Griffiths now up into P4. I mean, Miklos Gau is a little bit ahead of him. I don't think he's that far ahead of him, actually. But so could Griffiths catch up to Gau? I need to see the gap, actually. But not sure what the gap was Willows to him. But I wonder, could Griffiths maybe even catch Gau before the end? Now that would be great if he could catch him and even take him for the podium. That would I'd love to see it. I kind of hope it does. But as we're looking now at Chatford, who's battling with Sontag for P8, and Galloway a few seconds off as well. And I mean, well, this is George Roke, who's caught up to the back of Moichin for P5. Of course, Moichin, who has struggled on those wet tyres, and he's now ahead. And Roke now moves up into P5. But of course, Willows is just there as well. I forgot Willows was just there behind, but Willows is going to pass Moichin very quickly, because Willows is on extremely fresh wet tyres. And look at that, Willows just absolutely steamrolls past Moichin like he's not there, onto the front straight there. So yeah, Moichin is having, unfortunately, a terrible stint. It's not really worked out for him. Griffiths is a little bit behind Gal. It's typically goes, and Willows gets very close to the back of Roke as well, actually, for P5 there, coming off turn 2 as they're coming through turn 3. And so Willows going to have a go on the inside of Roke. Roke can't really put up any defence. Willows is extremely quick. He's 13 seconds behind Griffiths. Willows. Could he catch up? I mean, there is 4 laps left, and Willows has got past Roke, I mean, that quickly, but Oh, I don't know. I mean, we've got 4 laps to go this race. What's the gap? Griffiths to Gal, 7 seconds. That's so close. That's so tight, that is. I'm not sure. As meanwhile, Galloway is battling Sontag. This is for P8, and Galloway goes around the outside of Sontag and passes him just before the final corner. And so now we're looking at Griffiths, who actually is there. You can see he's closing, actually. Gal is right there. So we could see Griffiths possibly overtaking Gal for P3 here. We've got a yellow flag out on the circuit. I don't know what's happened. We've seen a brief yellow flag somewhere. And I don't know what happened here. And this was... it was Amelia Wilson who goes into the back of the racing point there. Oh, I believe that was George Roke, and it was. So Roke unfortunately gets hit from behind right at the end as well. That won't please him either. So it won't be any more than P5, it looks like, for Roke. As meanwhile, Griffiths attempting to go on the inside of Gal for P3. Here we go. Griffiths on the inside. Has he done it? And the answer is yes. He's up into P3. Would you believe it? Although he goes a little bit wide off the exit. So Gal does drop down to P4. But crucially as well, by the way, Willows is not far away. And Willows is on fresh tyres. So Willows is right there. So Joseph Willows, incredibly, could even take P3 away from Jamie Griffiths. So he's certainly going to get P4. Look at how quick he's already closing up to the back of these guys. This could be a tense ending to this race, as Franco Gamba is the driver leading, as Roke does come out of the pits. Obviously still down in P6 actually, so it's not going to be a top 5 even, but still P6. So Franco Gamba, again, 2 front wing changes early on in lap 13, but even so, he was still by far the quickest on the circuit. No one was even close to matching his pace for the win. And after Evan Byrne retired, it looked to be, by the way, Evan Byrne's victory, but with that engine failure, it opened the door for Franco Gamba to take advantage of it. And I mean, I still feel gutted for I really do still feel gutted for Evan Byrne. It should have been his race win. Meanwhile, Griffiths may need to make his Williams as big as a boat, because Willows has already passed Gal, and we're on to the last lap of this race, and Willows is by far the quickest out of these guys. So Griffiths at the moment in P3, but Willows is right behind, and this could be a tense ending to this race, as we're looking at Griffiths in 3rd position. He's got one more lap to hold on to P3 from Willows. I'm not sure, can he do it or not? But meanwhile, Amelia Wilson has received a 10-second time penalty for causing the incident with George Roke. So that's not good for her. I mean, she wasn't getting anything from this race anyway. But meanwhile, Franco Gamba, what a performance from almost being a lap down on lap 13, 2 wing changes. He wins the Malaysian Grand Prix, and he comes across the line. What a performance and what a recovery from Franco Gamba. And he wins the race. And we're looking now at Roke, who's going to come across the line in P6. And here we go. He's coming around the final corner, so he'll be disappointed to only get P6 out of this race. But there we go. He's P6 for Derry. P12. Amelia Wilson finishes actually in last in P13, so the 10 seconds again added to her time anyway. Roland Moichin at P7. He'll be disappointed with that. The one stop for him didn't really work out. As meanwhile, this is the battle for 3rd. Willow's all over the back of Griffiths now for P3. As we're looking through the rest of the order, Moichin is 7th. Galloway will come across the line 8th. Sontag will be 9th. And they're all over each other, are Willows and Griffiths. And so can Griffiths hold on to P3? This is going to be a tense ending to this race. Can he do it? Or Griffiths is going to have to make his car as wide as possible. And of course he's got to defend on the straight when fresh tyres are key there. And here we go. This is the penultimate straight. Can Griffiths hold on? Willows is going to have a much better run off the corner. And he's going to go around the outside of Griffiths. Can he do it before the final corner? Meanwhile, Kupok comes across the line. I think that was in in 2nd position. It's Kupok in 2nd, by the way. I totally forgot about that. Kupok 2nd, fair play. And here we are around the final corner. This is the battle for P3. Kupok, Willows versus Griffiths to the line. And it's Griffiths who just holds off Joseph Willows for P3. And get in there, Jamie. You are a finisher on the podium. May we shout out as well David Kupok, P2 for AlphaTauri. What a result for him. I honestly totally forgot about him. But here are the race results. So Franco Gamba wins by over a minute from David Kupok in 2nd, Jamie Griffiths 3rd, Joseph Willows 4th, Nicholas Gow in 5th, the last on the lead lap, with George Roke, Roland Moichin, Jake Galloway, Felix Sontag, Chris Chatford completing the rest of the top 10, with Franco Gamba getting that extra point for fastest lap. But again, I honestly totally forgot about Kupok up there in 2nd, really, but we didn't see him at all in the last bit of the race. Andrea Federi 12th, Amelia Wilson 13th with that 10-second penalty, with Byrne, Martis, De Rossa, Gamba, Gomez, Chung, Lopez, Carr and Fraser all not finishing this race. So that was, again, just an insane race. 13 finishes, actually, which is still over half a field in a wet race, so that is impressive. Lopez and Carr, that remained the same, of course. Mingus Gal moves closer to behind Gal, so it's only 22 points the gap. Gal moves up into the top 4 ahead of Roke with that win. Q-Pop moves up into the top 10, actually, moves ahead of Byrne and Roberto Gamba as well, so a few movements up there in the top 10. Looking through the rest of the order, Willers moves up into 12th with that 4th place finish. Griffiths moving all the way up into 16th place ahead of Santiago and Gomez. Anna Wilson as well, with Martinez, Kirby and Fraser so far the only drivers yet to score a point this season. That is the driver's standings, and now we'll take a look at the manufacturer's standings. And of course Mercedes don't win in Malaysia, but they'll have probably another chance to win in, well, I don't know actually, based on mathematics. I mean, it's a lot closer than before, so maybe not. So the order stays the same, still close between Ferrari in 6th position ahead of AlphaTauri, then Alfa Romeo, Williams, Manor in 10th. Haas still the only team yet to score a point this season. Whew, I can get my breath back now at last. That was an insane race, and no surprise, Jamie Griffiths voted as the driver of the day, of course, for that, for holding on to the P3. I don't think anyone would have forgiven Willers had he taken it off Griffiths just before the line there. But there we go, that was the Malaysian Grand Prix, probably one of the most exciting OC races we've ever had. We'll see you for the next round, the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. Will it get as crazy as that? I have no idea, but thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to give the video a like, check out our link in the description, join our Discord, check out our Twitter, and check out our Wikia pages. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in Suzuka.